What a week of college football. It was such a good week that I can't just review 3 games. I'm just going to do a brief analysis of each game for today and maybe go a little bit deeper on the 3 games that I know the most about. Let's get into it. Ole Miss had a kind of disappointing game to end the season against Mississippi State. Mississippi State is trash, 5-7. Do they have any ranked wins? Probably not. And Ole Miss only beat by 17, maybe just preparing for their bowl game because they'll have a pretty good bowl game. At their ranked number 12. Only losses against Alabama and Georgia. One of your only losses are against Alabama and Georgia. You're a pretty good team. Not much to say from Mississippi State, though. They got the upset. They will be bowl eligible, but they won't end up being that way. Neither team committed a turnover. Probably a pretty boring game to watch, to be honest. TCU got blown out by Oklahoma. Actually, TCU ended up coming back a little bit, but Oklahoma almost dropped 70 on them. The last team to do that won the national championship, but Oklahoma won't do that. They have 2 losses. TCU also loses bowl eligibility because of this loss, as Dylan Gabriel throws for 400 yards. Really, just anything Oklahoma wanted to do worked, so good for them. Over 600 yards, while TCU had over 500. Iowa knocks Nebraska out of bowl eligibility and will face Michigan in the Big Ten championship, where Michigan will probably whoop them. Hoping for a good game, but I'm not expecting a good game. Looks like they won by a game-winning field goal at the end of the game. Even when Iowa's way better than the team, they'll still find a way to score the least amount of points as possible. 13, 15, 22, 10. They scored 30 all season once against West Michigan. So, they're not going to beat Michigan because they will put enough points to beat Michigan. It's that simple. Tulane beat UTSA. No one really cares about this game. I'm pretty sure Tulane's the only ranked non-Power 5 team. I think that's what it is. They'll host the AAC title game, but that's another pretty good season for Tulane. I don't know if they can move up, but they should move up to a Power 5 conference so they can actually get some playoff recognition as the 12-team playoff looms above us. Mizzou destroys Arkansas. Missouri's just a better team. Arkansas has been terrible. It's kind of disappointing because a couple years ago they were actually having fans thinking that they could beat Georgia. Not going to happen anytime soon. But Missouri, I've liked them this season. They've been very good. No turnovers by Mizzou. 5 by Arkansas. Just not a good game. And not many people came to the game either. Texas Tech gets blown out by Texas. Everyone saw that coming. Texas is looking better as the season progresses. They have a win against Alabama. They have some other pretty good wins, I'm pretty sure. They have the win against Bama, the win against Texas State. They lost against Oklahoma, but they blew out Kansas. So, they have a decent resume, but they need teams to lose. Next, Penn State obliterates Michigan State. I mean, did anyone expect this not to happen? Well, whenever Penn State goes against a good team, they fold. But they did blow out Iowa 31-0, so that's cool. And that's probably similar to what's going to happen when Michigan goes against Iowa. Penn State's had a decent season, but they haven't really taken the next step yet. Much like Ole Miss, where neither of those teams can really match up to the high talent of teams like Alabama and Michigan. Michigan doesn't even have as good as talent as Ohio State. We'll talk about that. Oregon State gets blown out by Oregon. Oregon, just like Texas, has been playing very well recently, but they need a couple teams to lose if they want to make it to the playoffs. Actually, they might be able to just make it if they beat Washington, though. We'll see. Oregon's favored by a ton because Washington's been struggling recently. It'll be a fun game. Next, we got the Saturday games. Georgia beats Georgia Tech. It was clear that they were sleepwalking. 3 receivers out. They couldn't repass the ball as well as you could see. Carson Beck didn't do too well. Milton destroyed again, though. Georgia will be facing Alabama at the national championship. The SEC championship, sorry. So similar. But Georgia Tech was bowl eligible after winning last week. I'm pretty sure it was an upset. Oh, not really. They just beat Syracuse. That's not that surprising. But yeah, so they don't they probably don't hate losing to Georgia by 8. Georgia probably, even though they're sleepwalking, probably wants to beat Georgia Tech by a little bit more next time, though. We're actually going to wait to go over this game. Kentucky, Louisville. Louisville had been praying for the stars to align for quite some time now, but it won't matter. Oh, that's the wrong game. It won't matter because Kentucky knocked them out of playoff eligibility. That's embarrassing. There's nothing you could say. People were talking about, I would love to see Louisville make a surprise run into the playoffs. Not going to happen. Embarrassing loss. LSU beats Texas A&M by scoring more points than them. Is anyone surprised? LSU doesn't got no defense, so they just need to outscore their opponent, and they did in the fourth quarter, 21-6. Jaden Daniels still looking like an absolute beast. I mean, what is that stat line? Just what is that? Actually, Texas A&M had more total yards, but had a turnover while LSU didn't have one. Arizona blew out Arizona State, but no one really cares. Oklahoma almost lost to BYU, but they came back. It's kind of an embarrassing loss for BYU because they were up, let's see, at halftime, 24-6, and they blew it big. Just disappointing. But Oklahoma State ends at 9-3, which isn't too bad, especially for a ranked 20 team. 5 touchdowns for Gordon. Wow. They had a ton of total yards. And double BYU's first downs. Alright, we need to make a little bit of a quick run here. Tennessee blows out Vanderbilt as expected. Same for Liberty versus UTEP, but it was a little bit close. Washington struggles against Washington State. Just not a great game, which is why Oregon is favored in that game by 9.5. Florida State struggles against Florida, just like they struggle against every team. It was an injured QB bowl. Florida State does come out on top, though, and will face Louisville in the ACC title game. Notre Dame beats Stanford by a lot, of course. Clemson beats South Carolina, avenges their loss last season while scoring like no offensive touchdowns because it's Clemson. Iowa State upsets Kansas State, and Kansas State is not going to be very happy with a 4-loss season. How many losses did they have last year? It was either 3 or 2. They did not lose a lot last year, so a little bit disappointed by losing to Iowa State in their last game of the season. NC State beats North Carolina. North Carolina's been the most embarrassing team of the season, probably. Drake May has never been really a winner, like a 2-loss team, but it's kind of sad to see him lose so many games, especially while he's such a good quarterback. Alright, now for the big 2. Let's go with Alabama's game first. Alabama, I watched this game, squeezes out victory against Auburn with a miracle. I don't care, Stephen A. Honestly, you should have harsh words for Alabama for making this have a miracle touchdown to beat Auburn. Auburn lost to New Mexico State last week, but they come out firing all cylinders defensively against Alabama, but it's not enough. They don't put enough points up on the board. Their 4th down play was horrendous. Alabama wins. Milroe was really good. Thorne was not. Alabama doesn't want to have a 3-point miracle win against Georgia because Georgia's not going to allow that last play like Auburn did. Both teams, Alabama and Georgia, going to play better in the SEC title game than they did in Week 12. Ohio State, Michigan. Once again, Michigan beats Ohio State for the 3rd time in a row. Wilson tells Ohio State they're not tough because they're not tough. They are soft. Allow a ton of rushing yards again, especially the break Corum, who scored 2 rushing touchdowns. McCord threw 2 interceptions. How do you play the biggest game of the season and give Marvin Harrison only 5 receptions? Embarrassing. I just don't get that. People won't run, they fired. I don't really care. But it's embarrassing that the fact that you can't force any turnovers. You got beat in the time of possession. You had more total yards, but it doesn't really matter when you can't put up points on the board. It's just not great for Ohio State look right now because they have lost to Michigan 3 years in a row. I don't think this year they won't be able to squeeze out a playoff berth without being conference champions like they weren't last year. Because honestly, let's be honest, last year was kind of weak. TCU and Ohio State, who wasn't a conference champion, were in. This year looks a lot tougher though, which means it'll be a lot tougher for Ohio State to make the playoffs. I think they're doing like the rankings right now actually, but the video won't be out by then. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this kind of speed through every single like rivalry week game, and we've got a ton of good matchups. Next week we've got 6 or 7. That's 7. And they're all very interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Ended up not being too long. See you guys later.